Well, good afternoon. Yesterday marked the 10th anniversary of my swearing in as Milwaukee's 18th police chief. Little did I realize then that I would become the 5th longest serving chief in the Milwaukee Police Department's 162-year history, and the first since the institution of terms to be reappointed. In fact, of the 79 American and Canadian members of the Major City Chiefs Association, only 3 have longer terms in their current police chief police chief position. Now, I became a police officer nearly 47 years ago. I've been a witness to and a participant in historic changes in policing. Becoming chief in Milwaukee was the fulfillment of a career dream. I promised the residents of this city when I was first sworn in that I will not let you down. I've done my professional best to fulfill that promise. The report I share with you today, which you have, will serve to document my tenure. These years have been characterized by dramatic changes to the Milwaukee Police Department. This report, for the first time, presents those changes in one place. It isn't meant to be an exhaustive history of the MPD during these 10 years. Those major incidents that are recounted are presented as representative of work of the MPD, or they resulted in operational or training improvements. Primarily, it focuses on the implementation, management, and institutionalization of change. Now, I was brought here to be a change agent, and a change agent I have been. Change is hard. It inevitably engenders resistance and controversy, no matter how necessary or desired. In the world of policing, it is far safer to fail conventionally than it is to innovate. Ironically, in my experience, demands for change and the ensuing demands to change and the ensuing reforms often years later result in demands for reforms of the reforms. Yesterday's innovation becomes today's status quo. It seems as the winds that blow through the political environment are ever changing. But the important point is this: the Milwaukee Police Department has achieved a level of excellence acknowledged by federal agencies, academic partners, and peer departments, as documented by the numerous awards and the recognition it has received. It has had a dramatic impact on crime while retaining broad grassroots support. Citizen complaints and uses of force are at all-time lows. By any objective standard, it is a model agency. First, let me share with you some good news about our 2017 numbers that's contained in your information packet. As you will see, total crime declined 4%. Significantly, homicide decreased by 16%. Now, we had 2 very tough years for homicide in 2015 and 2016. The decrease is encouraging. For perspective, keep in mind that the 20-year average for homicide in Milwaukee was 126. During the past 10 years, that average has been reduced to 102. Still too high, but long-term progress has been made. In 2017, robbery declined 11% and was the lowest in 11 years. Citywide carjackings decreased 12%, while auto thefts declined 12%. The 6% decrease in burglaries meant that 2017 was the second lowest year in burglaries since 2007. The 4% decline in thefts made 2017 the lowest year in theft since 2007. Meanwhile, our hardworking officers took 2,759 guns off the street, the most this decade, and the proportion of firearms seized as evidence, guns was the highest we've recorded. Now, the Milwaukee Police Department's core values of courage, competence, integrity, leadership, respect, and restraint are demonstrated every day on the streets of our city. 2 good measures of competence and restraint are uses of force and citizen complaints. Use of force has declined 25% since 2013. Meanwhile, citizen complaints were at 114, a 77% decline since 2007, and the lowest number we have in available records. I'm immensely proud of the work of the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department. Over the past 10 years, they have absorbed an enormous amount of technological, operational, and institutional change against the backdrop of significant political and societal pressure. It is the members of this organization who have planned, organized, staffed, and in good faith implemented and adapted to these changes. It is remarkable to me that 1/3 of our officers have been hired these past 10 years. To them, change is the status quo, but our veterans know how far we have come. Now, allow me to mention some of the innovations that they have made successful. The implementation of our community-based, problem-oriented, data-driven strategy, CompStat, the realignment of police district lines to reflect historic neighborhood boundaries, the creation of the Office of Management and Planning, the creation of the Intelligence Fusion Center with the Gun Crime Intelligence Center incorporated within it, the creation of the Neighborhood Task Force and the reopening of the old District 3, the Early Intervention Program, the training of over 400 officers as crime scene technicians, the development of the Crisis Intervention Team and the extension of its training to all first responders, ShotSpotter, Star Chase, the Homeless Outreach Team, the expansion and use of the Major Incident Response Team for national deployments, as well as for use in the restrained policing of many Milwaukee demonstrations and disturbances, becoming the first major city in the United States to successfully implement an encrypted, interoperable digital radio system, department-wide training in fair and impartial policing, creation of a risk management bureau, achieving accreditation from the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, the creation of the Salvation Army Chaplaincy Program, the creation of the Police Ambassador Program, the successful partnership with the Sojourner Peace Center that has become a national model, the implementation of a body-worn camera program throughout the department, successful participation in the Bureau of Justice Assistance's National Public Safety Partnership, and emergence as the national leader in implementing that approach. These are just some of the accomplishments of the members of this department in the past few years. Their work has resulted in MPD receiving national awards from the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Police Executive Research Forum, the MetLife Foundation, the International Association of Crime Analysts, and recognition from Cambridge University, George Mason University, and the University of Wisconsin right here in Milwaukee. I'm proudest of the creation of a Merit Awards program to recognize and honor the exemplary service of our members. Some of you here today have attended our ceremonies where families get to see their loved ones properly recognized for their service. To date, I've had the privilege of awarding over 1,600 medals for heroism and service. 10 years. A lot has happened. Much has been accomplished. Much has been achieved. It's a good benchmark. And it's time. Time to say thank you. Time to say goodbye. When I accepted appointment to a third term, I never committed to serving a full 4 years. My goal for us was to turn around the homicide numbers that had climbed so high in my 8th year and to reach 10 years moving forward in the right direction. Both goals have been met. So it is today that I announce my retirement as Chief of the Milwaukee Police Department. It has been a privilege to serve this great city. It has been the pinnacle of my professional life. While many are deserving of my thanks, appreciation I will seek to demonstrate in the coming few weeks, I particularly want to thank the former fire and police commissioners who appointed me back in 2008. Leonard Subcheck, Earl Buford, Richard Cox, Ernesto Baca, and Woody Welsh. I will always be grateful for their confidence. I also thank Mayor Tom Barrett, as it was his appointees who comprised that board, and his political courage was necessary, a very necessary ingredient of that decision. In the ensuing 10 years, we have weathered many storms, endured many controversies. He has never failed me, and more importantly, he has never failed this city. I have been grateful for his confidence and appreciative of his never having allowed politics to interfere in the proper functioning and good order of this department. Put plainly, he has let me do my job. Now, I've been privileged to be the leader of this fine agency and proud of my role in its evolution. But the credits for its accomplishments belong to its members, officers and civilians, who have made everything possible. The men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department deserve the respect and support of the people they protect and serve because they have earned it. This city should be proud of its sons and daughters, and proud that it raised men and women, noble in spirit, animated by a desire to serve. I thank them, and I thank you. Mayor?
It was 10 years ago that we took a gamble. We took a gamble with this outsider from the East Coast. And the question then was, well, is he going to stay? Is he going to stay, or is he just going to travel through this city? Well, we know for the last 10 years, Chief Edward Flynn has given his all for the people of this community. The men and women who work for this department do a phenomenal job. And I give my heartfelt thanks to every single member of this department. I want people today to recognize the leadership that this department has had for the past 10 years. 10 years is an eternity as a police chief in a major American city. As the chief indicated, it simply doesn't happen anymore. But it happened here. It happened here because he's professional, he's innovative, and he cares about the residents of this community. I thank you, Chief, for your 10 years of service. I thank you for your over 4 decades of service to people in this country. You have earned this recognition. You have earned the right to retire. And I wish your wife and family the best as you return home. I know it's going to be a change for him because he's a man who's on the go a lot. It's going to be different watching Wheel of Fortune than being out on the streets of the city of Milwaukee. It's going to be different and more fun, probably, playing with his grandchildren than traveling throughout this country and this community on behalf of his professional work. I'm grateful that he made the decision 10 years ago to be part of our community. I am grateful that he has stayed for the past 10 years. I am grateful for the incredibly innovative changes that have occurred in this police department. Chief Edward Flynn has brought the Milwaukee Police Department into this century. It is data-driven. It is professional. It is well regarded. And we all know that this is a difficult challenge. One of the things that I have said throughout my time as mayor is I need this to be a city where our residents can work with and respect our police officers. I also need this to be a city where our police officers, from the newest recruits to the the chief of police, will respect and work with our residents. That leadership has come from the top. His willingness to work with community groups, the monthly meetings at the district stations, where our residents can come in and have a chance to talk with the police in each district about what the challenges are. Those are important changes. Those are marks of a police department that wants to be and is engaged in our community. And we know that there are challenges moving forward. And we look forward to addressing those challenges. But today is Chief Flynn's day. And I want to thank you again on behalf of the residents of this city for 10 years of honorable service to the people of Milwaukee. Chief, again, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
If there's any questions, we're happy to answer any questions.
Chief, what trait do you, want to see in the next chief of police?
I'll tell you, more to the point is, what do we leave behind here? And what I leave behind isn't necessarily programs or policies or strategies or tactics. What I leave behind are high-quality people who have demonstrated not only a commitment to the city, but an ability to adapt to an era of rapid technological and social change. I've worked hard to expose them to training, to send them to other places to learn from other departments, to work with them to develop their leadership potential, and to have them, through the organization, disperse a brand of leadership that supports responsible risk-taking on behalf of the public, supports innovation, and recognizes the difficulties inherent in a job that's fundamentally based upon making quality decisions under enormous stress, that's supportive of the best efforts of our officers, but rigorously holds officers accountable when they fall short of our core values. And so that's the larger issues. I've left behind capable people who can carry on. And I think as the political process churns, it'll hopefully identify a leader worthy of the idealism and professionalism of the department they will inherit.
Chief, what will you take away as some of the high points and some of the challenges of the last decade?
Well, certainly, Milwaukee has been at the center of many of the social changes that we're seeing right now, the enhanced scrutiny of the police. Certainly, we have had some conspicuous failures over the years in which individual officers or small groups failed to adhere to our core values. I think one of the ways to evaluate this agency isn't, however, are we able to avoid all controversy and never have one of our members fail? The challenge is, what do we do to prevent it in terms of training and supervision? What have we done to ferret out wrongdoing? What have we done to hold officers accountable? And I think our record of demonstrating a willingness to hold officers rigorously accountable to discipline, regardless of how the rest of the criminal justice system views their behavior, has become a method that other departments are rapidly adopting. For many years, police departments would wait for the criminal justice system to make a decision about criminal charges when an officer had been involved in a critical incident and failed. And what would often happen is that failure was not viewed as criminal, even though it was certainly problematic. Well, we have aggressively decided we're going to charge and, if necessary, terminate officers who fail in their professional obligations. And that kind of accountability is generally the more appropriate accountability, because even when officers fail conspicuously, the vast majority of the time, it was an error in judgment, not a willful attempt to commit a crime. And in that context, the profession has to demonstrate a commitment to excellence and a willingness to hold people accountable. And if the public believes we're doing right by them in terms of our accountability systems, there might not be the constant demands for criminal culpability when the law specifically deems that criminal culpability doesn't apply.
Chief, interim chief, and when will your retirement be effective?
I've got some time to run out. Obviously, I'll be here as chief, in the office and available probably for the first, through the first couple of weeks of February. But I've got a couple of conferences to go in the meantime and so on. So, obviously, Chief Harpole is always the acting chief when I'm not here. So, whenever I'm not here, he'll certainly be running things. But by February 16th, hopefully I'll be loading up a moving truck and getting on with being a grandpa and dad.
How do you feel?
I have mixed emotions. I have pride in this organization. It's a rattling off how many years of service I have, and implicitly, since I didn't start as a baby, that means I'm pretty damn old. It's hard to get over the fact that inside my head, and I say people anywhere near my age understand what I'm about to say. Inside my head, I'm still a young man of promise. Okay? I mean, it's been a while since anybody said to me, "You look too young to be chief," which is what they used to say long ago and far away. So I'm a little ambivalent about coming to this place in my life, but I know I'm not finished, being of use, and I'm certainly overdue for some quality grandpa and dad time back home.
Chief, the Common Council's made no secret about their evaluation of your performance. Has their making that public had anything to do with your decision?
No, and quite honestly, there were times I've thought over the last year or so, gosh, I could save them so much heartache if they only knew that all their troubles would soon be over. I don't know what they're going to talk about now, but the fact is that wasn't, that wasn't a factor. I mean, political criticism is part and parcel of this job. People who do, and people who criticize, I guess, some of them become aldermen. But the rest of us have to focus on what our mission is. And so, no, that wasn't an issue. But as I say, this was a good benchmark for me. And I was really, we were really focused on doing something. I mean, 15 and 16 were just dreadful homicide numbers. They were just awful by any measure. So we were trying to do something about that.
So you've been planning this for a while?
Yeah. As we were making progress last year, I realized, okay, this, looks like that 10-year, which I hoped, to do was going to be right. I wasn't going to be living in the middle of a crime wave. I mean, we had by comparisons in recent years, this is a terrible thing to say, but a good year for crime against the context of, crime is too high in this city. Of course it is, all right? We recognize that, but we've made some significant progress, and that's a good time to pass the baton. So,
Thank you.
time to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.